You know, I think we need to address the elephant in the room right off the bat.
All right.
When I say the word meditation, and especially focusing on the breath, I feel like most people just their eyes glaze over.
Oh, absolutely. It's the classic misconception.
Yeah, they think, okay, I sit there, I inhale, I exhale, I get bored, and then check my phone.
Right. We treat it like a mental timeout, a way to just turn off the noise for a few minutes, maybe some stress relief.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I started digging through this whole stack of research you sent over on Anapanasati.
Which is the Pali term, yeah, for mindfulness of breathing.
And I realized I've been looking at this completely wrong. It felt like I've been treating a fighter jet like it's a bicycle. Because this isn't just relaxing. It looks like a technical manual for hacking your own nervous system.
That is a much, much better way to frame it.
Okay.
Anapanasati isn't about just chilling out. It is widely considered the core meditation method taught by the Buddha. And what we have in the source material is a rigorous 16-step roadmap. It's a technology.
16 steps. That's what jumped out at me. Usually the instruction is just watch your breath, full stop. But this breaks it down into 4 distinct groups. The sources call them tetrads.
That's right, 4 tetrads.
And they cover everything from your physical body to your emotional state all the way to, well, frankly, some pretty terrifying physiological shifts where you feel like you've stopped breathing entirely.
We will definitely get to that.
Yeah.
That's what we call the crisis point of the practice.
Right.
And it is where most people bail out.
So here's our mission for this deep dive. We are going to decode these 16 steps. We're going to go from step 1 all the way to step 16, and we're going to explain the science and, the psychology of what is actually happening to a person when they follow this roadmap to the letter.
And the physical side effects are, well, they're wide.
And anti-aging research we found, come on, that's incredible.
It is. But before we can even look at step 1, we have to understand the operating system. There is a core principle in the sources about how you actually move through this practice.
Right, the subtlety of the object. I want to double-click on this because my type A brain sees a list of 16 steps and immediately goes, great, I'll do step 1 for 5 minutes, then step 2, and I'll be enlightened by lunch.
And that is the fastest way to get absolutely nowhere. The sources are adamant about this. You cannot force your way through these steps.
So you can't just muscle through it?
No. You advance only when the object of your focus, which is the breath, becomes subtler.
Okay, let's define that. What does that mean for the breath to become subtle?
Think of it like tuning an old analog radio. At first, your signal's just full of static. That's your distracted mind. The breath feels coarse. It might be loud, ragged, very physical.
Got it.
As you focus, the static clears. The signal gets cleaner, quieter, more refined. You don't grab the knob and crank it. You just keep fine-tuning your attention, and the signal shifts on its own.
So you don't climb the ladder, it's more like you dissolve into the next rung?
Precisely. If you try to jump to step 10 before your mind is actually stable enough at step 1, you're just daydreaming. You have to wait for the mind to upgrade its own sensitivity.
Okay, so with that huge warning in mind that we can't force this, let's look at the first tetrad. This is the foundation, steps 1 through 4, and the sources call this contemplation of the body.
Right, and it starts deceptively simply. Step 1 is breathing in long. One discerns, I am breathing in long. Step 2 is the exact same, but for short breaths.
And this is the part, honestly, where I usually check out. Okay, long breath, short breath, got it. Why does this actually matter? Is there some magic length we're supposed to be aiming for?
No, and that is the crucial point. It matters because of that word drozos. You aren't trying to breathe long or short.
Yeah.
This isn't pranayama or some breathing exercise where you're counting.
Right.
You are acting like a scientist observing a specimen. Is this particular breath long? Is it short? You're training the mind to just observe reality as it actually is without trying to control it.
That is so much harder than it sounds. The second I watch my breath, I start trying to drive it. I want to smooth it out or make it deeper.
Exactly. That is the very first hurdle, letting go of the control freak in your head. The breath is an autonomic process, but we have this tendency to override it. Steps 1 and 2 are about breaking that habit of interference.
So once you can just watch without meddling,
You naturally slide into step 3, experiencing the whole breath body.
Now, the sources had some interesting notes on this. Does whole breath body mean feeling the breath in your whole physical body, like in your toes and fingers? Or does it mean feeling the entire cycle of the breath just at the nose?
There are different schools of thought, but the most actionable interpretation in our notes is about unification. It means you are aware of the wind element, the energy of the breath. From the very first millisecond of the inhale, through the middle to the very end, into the pause, and then all the way through the exhale.
So no spacing out in the middle of the breath.
0 gaps. Imagine you're pouring honey from a jar. It's a continuous thick stream, not individual droplets. That's step 3. You're creating a continuous stream of awareness, and this continuity is what triggers step 4.
Step 4, calming the bodily fabrication. That sounds like some kind of sci-fi jargon.
It's a technical term. The Pali word is sankhara. In this context, bodily fabrication just means the breathing process itself. The act of breathing is what fabricates or sustains the body.
So calming the fabrication is just calming the breath.
To an extreme degree. Because you've established that continuous awareness in step 3, the brain stops its constant threat scanning. The whole physiology starts to downregulate. The breath goes from a jagged line on a graph to a flat, smooth wave.
So gentle you might barely feel it.
Exactly. And this isn't just feeling relaxed. This is a profound physiological shift. Your oxygen consumption plummets. Your heart rate slows. You're entering a state of deep biological efficiency. The coarseness of the physical body just starts to fade from your perception.
And that physical silence is the key that unlocks the next phase.
It unlocks the second tetrad.
Which brings us to feelings, steps 5 through 8. And this is where the notes get fun, because suddenly, out of this deep silence, we get fireworks.
We get piti and sukha.
Okay, we have to break these down because the source material is very, very specific about the difference, and I think in the West we just lump them together. Piti is translated as rapture, and sukha as pleasure. In English, those sound almost identical.
They do, but experientially, they're almost opposites. The classic analogy they use in the texts, and I love this because it's so relatable, is the thirsty traveler in the desert.
Okay, paint the picture for me.
You've been walking for days, you're absolutely parched, the sun is just beating down, and then suddenly on the horizon you see an oasis. You see the water, that rush, that jolt of excitement, that trembling anticipation. That is piti.
So piti is the buzz, it's energetic.
Yes. It can feel like goosebumps or waves of electricity, or some people even report a feeling of levitation. It's the nervous system discharging stored energy because all the usual stress and hindrances have been suppressed. It's kinetic.
And sukha?
Sukha is when you finally arrive at the oasis, you drink that cool water, and you lie down in the shade. It's not the buzz. It's the deep satisfaction. It's cooling. It's tranquil. It's peaceful.
So piti is the spike. Sukha is the baseline happiness. But here's the trap, right? The notes mention this, and I feel like this is a huge one for modern people. We get addicted to the piti.
It's the spiritual high. Step 5 and 6 are about experiencing these feelings, but step 7 and 8 are about calming them down.
Of course, because if I'm sitting there meditating and suddenly I feel these incredible waves of ecstasy, my first reaction is, score. I'm doing it. Give me more of that.
Exactly. You get greedy, you start trying to manufacture the wave, and the moment you try to grab it, it vanishes.
Because you stopped observing and you went back to controlling again, back in the driver's seat.
Correct. The instruction for step 7, experiencing mental fabrication, is about seeing how your reaction to these feelings stirs up the mind. You have to learn to surf the wave of rapture without wiping out. You watch it arise, you feel the buzz, and, this is the hard part, you let it fade.
You let the fireworks display die out so you can appreciate the quiet stillness that's underneath.
And that stillness is what leads us into the third tetrad, the mind. Steps 9 through 12.
Okay, this is where we get into the heavy stuff. We're talking about high-octane concentration, the states known as the jhanas.
Yes. By this point, the breath is barely perceptible. The body is effectively asleep, but the mind is wide awake and incredibly bright. Step 9 is experiencing the mind. You're just acutely aware of the state of your consciousness. Is it dull? Is it sharp?
And then step 10 is gladdening the mind, which I found interesting. It almost sounds like you're supposed to cheer yourself up.
In a way you are. It's about fine-tuning the energy. If the mind gets too sluggish from all this calm, you have to inject a little energy, a little interest. If it gets too agitated, you have to soothe it. You're acting like a skilled mechanic, keeping an engine at the perfect RPM.
And when that balance is perfect, you hit step 11, concentrating the mind. This is samadhi.
This is the laser beam. The mind locks onto the breath, or really the subtle mental image of the breath, and it just doesn't waver, not for a second. This is where you enter the higher jhanas.
And this is where we run into the monster in the closet. The source material calls this a crisis point.
Yes, this is where many, many people quit or panic and snap themselves out of it.
Because, correct me if I'm interpreting the science right here, your brain starts to literally think you are dying.
Yes. that is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Think about what's happening biologically. You have calmed the bodily fabrication, the breath, so deeply that to your normal coarse perception, it seems to have stopped completely.
You literally can't feel yourself breathing anymore. It's just gone.
Right. And your body's tolerance for CO2 has shifted. You are in what science calls a hypometabolic state. Your body is burning so little oxygen that you don't need to heave your lungs in and out anymore. You are effectively in a state of hibernation.
So physically, you're perfectly fine. You aren't suffocating.
Physically, you're probably safer than you've ever been. But your ego, your sense of self, it is freaking out.
Why, if I'm safe, why the panic?
Because the ego constructs its identity on sensory input. I feel my body, therefore I am. I feel my breath, therefore I am alive. When the body disappears from awareness, when the breath vanishes, the ego senses a void.
And it interprets that void as death.
Yes, it screams, "We're dissolving, we're dying, do something."
And that's the panic attack. That's the jolt of adrenaline that makes you gasp for air and open your eyes.
Exactly. It's a trick. It's a survival mechanism for a threat that doesn't actually exist.
So how do you get past that biological alarm bell? Step 12 says liberating the mind. Is that the key?
Step 12 is the result. The key is in how you handle that fear. You have to use the skills you've been building this whole time. You have to observe the fear with that same scientific detachment. Breathing in, I discern fear. Breathing out, I discern fear.
You don't identify with it.
You don't say, I am scared. You say, there is fear.
That is a massive distinction. You're decoupling the emotion from your identity.
It's everything. If you can stare down that primal fear of annihilation and not move, if you can trust the process and surrender to that void, the panic just dissolves. And that is when you break through to the fourth tetrad.
The wisdom section. Steps 13 through 16.
This is the payoff.
You know, I thought the payoff was the floating feeling back in step 6, or the super focus in step 11. But the sources are really, really clear. Those are just tools.
They are the vehicle. Imagine you spent years building an incredibly high-powered telescope. That is samadhi. That is concentration. Now, what do you do with it? Do you just stand there admiring the lens?
No, you point it at the stars.
Exactly. And in this case, the stars are reality itself.
Step 13 is contemplating impermanence, Annika. But haven't we been looking at impermanence the whole time? You know, watching breaths start and end?
Yes, but not like this. With the telescope of the Fourth Jhana, your mind is so fast, so sharp, you start to see reality at a frame-by-frame level. You don't just see one breath. You see a billion little moments of sensation arising and passing away with incredible speed.
It's like looking at a movie screen and suddenly seeing the individual film frames instead of the moving picture.
Yeah.
You realize the movement is just an illusion. It's just flashing lights.
That's a perfect analogy. And when you see that, when you truly, viscerally see that nothing holds still, not even for a millisecond, not even your own self, something in the mind just gives up.
And that's step 14, fading of attachment, viraga.
Right. You stop clinging. Why would you try to grab onto a rushing river? You can't hold it. The mind naturally unclamps. This leads to step 15, nirodha, cessation.
The end of suffering.
The end of causes of suffering. It's the profound silence that comes when you finally stop fighting reality. And then at last, step 16, Tathinasaga, relinquishment, or letting go.
It sounds like untying a knot.
A knot that you have been tightening your entire life. You aren't adding wisdom. You are untying ignorance. You are finally throwing the burden down.
Yeah, that's the spiritual arc. And that's beautiful, but I promised everyone we'd talk about the side effects. Because even if you aren't looking for enlightenment, the biological data in these notes on this hypometabolic state is just startling.
It really is. We touched on the breath stopping and the metabolism dropping. But let's look at what that actually does at the cellular level.
We're talking about anti-aging, real biological anti-aging, not just a face cream.
We are. When you enter these deep states, what we're calling the crisis point or the deep jhanas, your production of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline just hits the floor.
And we all know cortisol is basically battery acid for the body over the long term.
Correct. It drives inflammation, it degrades tissue, it can even kill brain cells. But the other part of the research points to telomeres.
Okay, give us the quick and dirty on telomeres.
Imagine your DNA strands are like shoelaces. Telomeres are the little plastic caps on the ends that keep the lace from fraying.
Right.
Every single time your cells divide, those caps get a tiny bit shorter. When they're gone, the cell dies or just becomes senile. That, in a nutshell, is aging.
And stress just chews those caps up faster.
Stress dramatically accelerates the shortening. But some interesting research suggests that deep meditators, people who can regularly access these hypometabolic states, actually have higher levels of telomerase.
Which is the enzyme that repairs those caps.
It rebuilds them. So they are literally protecting their genetic data from fraying.
By entering a state that feels like dying.
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
By entering a state of suspended animation where the metabolic fires cool way down, you are preserving the machinery.
It's the ultimate irony, isn't it? The source says the whole goal is to realize that this body is impermanent and not self. But by doing that, you actually make the body last longer and work better.
It is the ultimate paradox of letting go. You keep what you don't cling to.
So let's wrap this up and just look at the whole picture. We have a 16-step roadmap. It starts with just being honest about whether a breath is long or short.
The very beginning.
It moves through this deep relaxation, through the fireworks of rapture, through the absolute terror of the ego dissolving, and it ends in a state of profound clarity.
That is the path of Anapanasati. It is a complete system.
And for the listener who's, sitting in their car or on the subway right now, what is the one thing they should take away from this? Because they probably aren't going to hit step 16 on their commute home today.
I would say, respect the anchor.
The breath.
The breath. It's the only tool you need. It is always, always with you. And remember that core principle we started with, subtlety. Don't try to force your mind to be quiet. Just watch the breath. If it's loud and messy, just watch it be loud and messy. If you watch with enough patience, it will refine itself.
And don't get stuck in the fun parts. Don't park the car in the driveway just because it has air conditioning.
Right. Don't become a bliss junkie. The goal isn't to feel good. The goal is to see clearly. If you use that deep calm to actually look at the nature of reality, the freedom you get is permanent. The high is just a temporary side effect.
It's really funny. We spend so much money and energy on biohacks, supplements, therapy, entertainment, and yet maybe the most sophisticated technology for changing the human experience has been sitting right under our noses the whole time.
Literally. Just waiting for us to notice it.
Well, thanks for guiding us through the manual today.
My pleasure. It was great.
And to everyone listening, maybe just take a breath, a real one, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.